On an ominous moonlit night, Drew and Trent were late returning home from an errand into the village. Little did they know that a were-rat followed them home. Their parents, Tilly and Mac, worry that they haven't seen the hunter's moon since that night, so Tilly insists that they need to tell Drew the truth. Mac hesitates, but Tilly argues it's time to fulfill their oath. However, he worries that Drew finding out the truth will change everything. When Drew was feeling unwell and his eyes glowed, Tilly decided it was time, so Mac took Trent outside to give them room to talk. She immediately tells him he must leave tonight, claiming he isn't exactly like them. When she's about to give him the sword, Tilly sees the were-rat outside and quickly barricades their home. Suddenly, it breaks inside through the window and mortally injures Tilly. Seeing his mother on the floor, Drew partly transforms into a wolf and attacks the were-rat. Tilly dies in his arms, but not before telling him to go to Brackenholm and find Duke Bergen. Mac and Trent return to their home after hearing a commotion and find Tilly dead in Drew's arms. They quickly assumed that he was the one who killed her and chased him from their home. He tries to explain what happened, but runs away when they don't give him the chance. The villagers banded together and chased him to a cliff, forcing him to escape into Direwood. Venturing deeper into the forest, Drew later overhears voices from Hogan and Whitley. Hogan tells her that she needs to survive the night and that she will become a fully fledged scout by morning. Drew notices that she just threw a map to Brackenholm, so he sneaks around to take it. Little did he know that Whitley had already set up a trap and Drew got caught in a snare. Whitley cuts him free and tries to lose him, but when she hears voices, she checks them out, worried it is Hogan. Whitley unknowingly walks into a Wilderman's shrine, which Drew follows her into. Hogan emerges injured after being attacked by a group of Wildermen in the forest. They fend them off and escape with an injured Hogan. After checking on him, Whitley states that Hogan is poisoned and would need a yellow stem to cure him. They quickly searched the forest and found them on top of some trees, so Drew offered to get them for her. Little did they know that they stepped into the lair of an orb spider, which Drew got caught in its web. Whitley tried to help him, but when she nearly fell, Drew partly transformed into a wolf and broke free, to which he then kicked it off the tree, where it died from falling. While waiting for the antidote to work, Whitley confronts Drew, who she suspects to be a werelord, and reveals herself to be one, a bear lord. She suspects Drew must come from one of Lycia's 7 great houses. Contrary to what he was told, Whitley explains that Lycia was divided into 7 realms to which they had its own werelord: sharks, stags, bears, lions, and even rats. All the werelords pledged their allegiance to the noble wolves until the lions came and destroyed them, stealing the throne. She then tries to recruit Drew, hoping he'll join the rebellion against the tyrant lions. Hogan wakes up and tells them that the Wildermen worship the orb spiders, and killing one is like killing their god. They quickly run for Brackenholm, but the Wildermen surround them, herding them like prey. They try to fend them off, but Drew gets pulled away by the were-rat, who is stalking him. Whitley managed to call for reinforcements, and Duke Bergen scared them away. When Drew finally came face to face with him, Bergen sent him away. Drew refuses to give up, and decides to fight his way through. Whitley and the others surprisingly discover Drew is a wolf, and Bergen is forced to put him in a cell. The next day, Whitley quickly finds herself in an altercation with the lion troopers when they steal from the locals. Once it is sorted out, she runs after Prince Lucas when he takes Whitley's horse, Chancer, without her permission. When he wouldn't give up on taking her horse, Bergen convinces Lucas to choose a different one, worried that Chancer wouldn't fit royalty like him. Later, Brogan, Bergen's son and Whitley's brother, meets with Drew and states that Duke Bergen is preoccupied. He explains that his father is busy entertaining the king's son, Prince Lucas, who is there for his betrothal to Lady Gretchen of Hedgemore. When Whitley sees lion troopers gang up on the fruit vendor again, she teaches them a lesson when her staff mysteriously flies into the shadows and Lord Van Casken emerges. He breaks them up, and Whitley is surprised to find her childhood friend, Hector, following Van Casken as his apprentice, hoping to become a magister. Whitley pulls Hector and takes him to meet Drew, hoping he can confirm her suspicions. They later worry that Drew's existence threatens Leopold and Lucas' claim to the throne. At dinner, Lucas confronts Bergen after learning of the commotion at the gates and demands to see the prisoner that Whitley brought. Bergen tries to brush off the topic, claiming it was a simple wilderman, but Van Casken finds it suspicious that a random welderman is imprisoned in the most secure cell at the very top of the Black Oak. Lucas offers to execute this so-called wilderman, but Whitley stands up and claims that she will bring the prisoner before him herself. When she takes her time, Van Casken orders Hector to get her, but Lucas quickly notices the wound on his wrist, which he claims only a werelord could hurt one. Meanwhile, Drew grew tired of waiting in his cell, so he decided to escape and meet Bergen himself. Whitley notices and tries to stop him, worried that Lucas will find out about him. Thus, the chase begins on the rooftops. Whitley refuses to let Drew see his father, and they fall off the lift, but Drew transforms into the wolf and uses his body to cushion their fall. Drew and Whitley fall in the middle of the street, and people are surprised to see a wolf still alive. When guards try to rush to the scene, the people block their path, but Lucas witnesses everything from the lift as they're headed towards Black Oak. Worried about the commotion, Whitley knocks him out and handles the situation. That night, Lady Gretchen of Hedgemore arrives at Brackenholm and is escorted by Baron Huth of Redmire and his son, Lord Vincent, Hector's father and twin brother. Whitley and Brogan quickly greet Lucas's bride-to-be Gretchen, who is also their cousin. Just as he wanted, Drew finally gets to talk to Bergen. Bergen claims that he heard he killed his mother, but Drew argues that it wasn't him. Drew explains that her mother asked him to find Bergen so that he could teach him how to control the monster inside him. Although Drew is still in denial, Bergen explains that he is a wolf, making him the only son of the late King Wergar himself. He worries that the last time he helped a wolf, it nearly cost him his head. Lucas meets with Van Casken and expresses his frustration at Bergen for keeping their prisoner from him. Van Casken claims that the Bear Lords were never truly loyal as they were too fond of old King Wergar. Lucas decides to take matters into his own hands and meet this prisoner once and for all. Van Casken worries that if a wolf does live, it could threaten King Leopold's hold on the throne. Van Casken then uses his magic to interrogate Drew, throwing and dangling him in the air to scare him. Hector quickly fetches Whitley and Brogan, worried what Lucas and Van Casken would do to Drew. When they entered the room, Van Casken threatened to drop Drew from the window. Whitley quickly grabbed Drew as he fell but couldn't pull him up. Even with Brogan's help, Bergen enters the room and pulls them away from the edge. When Bergen refuses to give him up, Lucas insists that Drew stay with him until they return to Highcliffe. Unable to wait any longer, Lucas orders them to expedite the betrothal ceremony today so they can soon leave for Highcliffe with their prisoner. While waiting for the bride to arrive, Lucas finds it suspicious that Whitley and Brogan are missing, to which Vincent reports that he saw them visiting his prisoner. Carrying an injured Drew, Whitley and Hector were nearly caught when they hid in Gretchen's room. Whitley suggests using the servant's passage and asks Gretchen to go with them, worried she would tell on them. With Bergen's help, Brogan secured passage out of Brackenholm when Lucas and his men caught up to them. Whitley and the others keep the soldiers busy while Drew tries to make the lift work. Hector runs up to his father, but Van Casken slaps him, branding him a traitor for siding with the wolf. Baron Huth is displeased when Van Casken raises his hand against his son, claiming that a strike to one Boarlord is a strike against them all. Van Casken refuses to stand down, and instead stabs Huth in the stomach with a concealed dagger, which surprises everyone. Bergen is surprised they were carrying silver when it was outlawed, but Lucas reveals that his soldiers carry silver swords, which are dangerous for werelords like them. Left with no choice, Drew takes Gretchen hostage, but Lucas transforms into a werelion to attack him, and Drew kicks him away. Soldiers surround the lift and take stabs at them, to which Drew decides to cut the wire, plunging the lift into the river below. With the lift quickly pulled underwater, Hector nearly drowned when his foot got caught in it, if not for Gretchen, who returned for him. Drew quickly pulled them into a boat and paddled away as lion troopers rushed to where they were. Gretchen is furious for dragging her and Hector into trouble, but Drew reassures her that he will free them both once he is safe. Drifting, Hector worries that they are headed towards Wormwood, which Drew claims would be the last place their pursuers would look. As soon as they make it to shore, Gretchen quickly ditches them. As she ran into a bog, she tripped and nearly got bitten by a snake. Drew asks her to thank him for saving her life, but Gretchen sarcastically thanks him for destroying her wedding, future, and everything. When Drew runs out to help a man who nearly fell into the swamp, Gretchen ties up Hector and escapes again. Gretchen returns to the boat, but Wilderman surrounds and captures her as she prepares to set sail. Searching for clues as to where she went, Drew finds signs that Wildermen were there, and the man he helped claims that there's a Wilderman village at the edge of the cursed forest he calls the Realm of Vala. Hector explains that Vala is an ancient were-serpent who became so consumed by her reptilian side that she embraced it entirely, taking on the form of a giant snake. Her obsession was so complete that she lost herself to the beast and never returned to her human form. Hector reminds him that Vala's story has been a cautionary tale among werelords, reminding him not to let the beast take over him. They later find the Wilderman village worshipping Vala, but when they hear Gretchen from a distance, they hurriedly run to where it is. Little did they know that the Wilderman leader saw and followed them. Out of nowhere, the Wilderman jumps at Drew, but when a giant rock nearly crushes them, Hector pushes him to safety. Worried that the forest is a giant maze and has no idea where to find Gretchen, Hector suggests using forbidden magic to talk with the dead Wilderman and ask where they took Gretchen. Using a powerful chemical called brimstone, they can call upon the dead to force them to answer any question they like. The summoned Wilderman reveals that Gretchen was taken to the sacrificial tree to be offered to Vala herself. Drew slowly walks up to the sacrificial tree past the thick fog and quickly wakes Gretchen. Hector hears a noise. Out of nowhere, an orb spider jumps at Hector, but when it is about to attack him, it runs away, detecting a more menacing presence in the area. Drew suspects it must be Vala, and that she must be hiding under the mist when Hector gets pulled by her tail. Drew tries to attack it, but Vala knocks him out, forcing Gretchen to run for his sword. When Vala has Drew in her mouth, Gretchen charges and attacks it with the silver sword. Drew recovers, transforms into a wolf, and synchronizes with Gretchen to attack it. When simply slashing it wasn't enough, Drew climbed up to its neck and bit him, to which Vala suddenly collapsed. After defeating the giant serpent, Drew collapses, having been bitten by Vala's poison. They drag Drew back to the boat and give him medicine, but Hector explains that he would need to rest if he were to recover from the poison. Wondering where their next destination is, Hector suggests they go to the nearest town called Motley for supplies, which also happens to be where Drew came from. Drew recovers from his injuries when he is surprised that he is back at Motley. He worries that everyone there hates him after he is accused of killing his mother. Hector explains that they need to stop for supplies and shelter, claiming that he still needs to rest to recover from Vala's venom. When they arrived at the village, they found it abandoned, with wanted posters for the wolf and lion troopers lying around. Drew hears a sound and decides to check it when he finds Aaron's father, Hamwell, in a cage. Hamwell becomes hostile, blaming Drew for what happened in Motley. When news spread about him, Motley became the town of the Wolf. Guards came looking to make an example of them, handing out punishments, carrying out executions, and even burning their homes. Meanwhile, Bergen sends Brogan to search for Drew under the king's orders, but when Whitley tries to join him, he stops her and insists that she focus on her studies to become more of a lady, befitting her title. Vincent reports that the king anxiously awaits them to catch the wolf. He also uses this opportunity to inform him that the king has permitted him to court Lady Whitley, much to their objection. Whitley blows off steam practicing when Vincent shows up and joins her, to which she quickly proves their difference in strength. When Vincent threatens her, Bergen interrupts them and claims Whitley will be coming with him to answer the king's summons in Highcliffe. Hoping to find shelter in Drew's home, they were surprised to find it abandoned and ransacked by the guards. Checking the wreckage, Hector realizes that someone is just there, as the fire from the furnace is still warm. Suddenly, they hear noises from the loft when a soldier comes out and starts swinging his sword out of nowhere. When the sword gets stuck, Gretchen jumps at him to reveal it is a girl, and Drew recognizes her as Erin from the village. Drew turns the place upside down, claiming to remember that on the night they were attacked, his mother wanted to show him something. Now that he's back, Erin asks him to fight for the village, but Drew refuses, claiming that the lions are too strong. Erin states that if he won't help her, she will do it herself, so she runs away. The venom takes hold of Drew, becoming more rabid and out of control, to which Gretchen knocks him down and makes him come to his senses. They later find a box of trinkets inside a cupboard, which Gretchen claims are no ordinary birth gifts. Hector explains that these are symbols of loyalty given to him by the werelords at birth as their pledge to protect his life. An oak tree from the bear lords, an antler from the stags, and a model ship of the Maelstrom, Count Vega's boat. Hector explains that Vega turned to piracy after Leopold banished him from his kingdom in the Cluster Isles. As they were about to leave, Hector suspects Erin returned to the village by herself to fight the lions. When they returned to the village, Erin tried to free his father from the cage when guards discovered her. They ask her to come down, but they shoot an arrow at her when she doesn't. Seeing them shoot her down, the beast takes over, and Drew transforms into the wolf to attack the guards. Gretchen attacks Drew from behind when he is about to attack a grieving Hamwell, to which he chases and corners her. When Drew goes out of control and nearly attacks Gretchen, Hector fends him off and makes him come to his senses. Days passed, and the group found themselves at All Hallows Bay searching for Count Vega, who Drew hoped would finally be the mentor he sought to control the beast. When Hector struggles to find clues, Drew suggests they start at the inn. When the barman makes fun of Hector, Gretchen leads the talk, flaunting her royalty to get him to answer her questions. Later, an informant approaches Drew and asks why they're looking for Vega. Gretchen drops a bag of coins to make him talk when one of the men outs him for being Vega himself, much to their surprise. The man demands Vega pay him his debt, but he brushes him off and escapes to his boat, where Drew and the others follow him. Gretchen decides to stay behind, claiming to want to return to her life and become queen, which surprises Drew, who still wants to marry Lucas after everything they went through. With things sorted out, Vega decides to set sail quickly. Drew tries to explain who they are, but Vega explains he already knows, claiming that word has already spread about him. He describes how he wants to control the curse, so he won't be able to harm anyone, especially the ones he loves. Hector finds him suspicious, but Drew claims that Vega could have handed them to the lion troops, but he didn't. Vega's training starts with balancing on the mast and learning how to summon the wolf when he needs it. Initially, Drew struggles, but when he lets the wolf come out, he abandons all fear and brazenly chases Vega through narrow beams and slippery ropes on the mast. When he thinks he's caught up to him, Vega catches him off guard and explains that knowing oneself is as important as knowing one's limits. Bergen and Whitley finally arrive in Highcliffe, and he reminds her to be on her best behavior. Walking into the throne room, Lucas quickly accuses Whitley of helping Drew, which is why they have not caught him yet. Leopold convinces him to focus on the wedding instead, to which Lucas suggested Whitley to be their bridesmaid, realizing that she couldn't turn down a request from the king. Later, Whitley reports to the king how Lucas nearly killed the tailor, but Leopold sides with Lucas. Out of spite, Leopold then demands that she be wed to Vincent after Lucas and Gretchen's wedding, which she is forced to accept. Meanwhile, Hector felt lost in his chambers when he summoned his father's ghost, hoping for guidance. He decides to send him away when he hears knocking in the hallway. He follows it into a room with a big chest on the table, but when he opens it, he is shocked. Later, Vega teaches Drew that the most important lesson is never to trust anyone. Drew wonders where they're headed, to which the ship appears to be heading north when Gretchen shows up on the boat, furious that Vega had his men kidnap her. Furious for tricking them, Drew transforms into the wolf and attacks Vega, and their fight brings them back to the mast. Despite his efforts, Vega comes out on top and pins him to the ground. When Drew refuses to give up, Vega threatens to hurt Gretchen and Hector, forcing him to surrender. The maelstrom finally arrives at Highcliffe, bringing the high-valued prisoners at Leopold's request. Whitley suggests rescuing Drew, but Bergen refuses, worried they are in the capital, and any rescue attempt is too dangerous. When she doesn't give up, Manfred the Werestag convinces her otherwise. Leopold finally meets Drew, to whom Vega demands the return of his kingdom, the Cluster Isles, in exchange. Leopold refuses to give in to his demands, claiming that his act of piracy is not enough to erase his old betrayal. He claims that Vega can get his Cluster Isles once he shows lasting loyalty to the crown. Leopold then declares that Drew will be executed on the morning of the royal wedding. On the way to the castle, the convoy was attacked by Mikkel and his men, a Werestag and the brother of Manfred. They got discovered, and the carriage carrying Drew fell into a flight of stairs. Whitley ran to help and stopped the carriage before it drove straight to the river. Mikkel asks them to run, but Whitley falls behind, still trying to catch her breath. Lucas and his men arrive and catch Whitley. Drew returns, worried about what Lucas would do to her. Later, Bergen meets Drew in his cell and promises to rescue him, but Drew refuses, worried they'll get hurt. Whitley complains to his father that she is being held in the ladies' quarters, but Bergen explains that she is lucky not to have the same fate as Drew. She later finds Queen Amelie in one of the rooms hypnotized, as if held under a spell. Whitley tries to strike up a conversation, but Amelie only responds, "How enchanting." Later, Whitley pulls Hector to check on the queen, whom he suspects must be enchanted. She explains that the queen is their only hope, believing she'd help because she's Drew's mother. Meanwhile, Gretchen works from a different angle and tries to convince Lucas to focus on the wedding, but he won't budge. Lucas then flaunts the key to his kennel, claiming that he could have him put down at any time. While Lucas is distracted by his portrait in the hallway, Gretchen steals the key from his pocket. That night, Gretchen meets with Drew to give him the key, but Drew kicks it back, worried what Lucas would do if he found out she helped him. Bergen feels uneasy and unable to do anything, to which Manfred worries that they have neither time nor men to mount a rescue. When Vega walks by, Bergen confronts him after how he served Drew up on a silver platter to Leopold. Bergen is furious at him after they all promise to protect the wolf, but Vega argues that he lost everything that day, unlike them. While wrestling each other, Manfred stops them when they bump into a couple of lion troopers, to which Bergen recognizes one. At the prison, Drew is visited by Mac and Trent, his adoptive father and brother, who still seek revenge for Tilly's death. Drew tries to explain that it wasn't him and that he would not do anything to hurt her. But Trent argues that he'd say anything to save himself. Drew claims that the one who attacked him was a rat lord, to which he tried to save her, but he couldn't. Hector nearly gets caught by Van Kasken while working on an antidote to counteract the spell that was put on Amelie. Hector claims that his medicine will work and that they need to give it time, but Whitley argues that time is something they don't have. Meanwhile, everyone makes their way to the arena where Drew is to be executed. Vincent, Hector, and Whitley are seated in a special section with a great view of what's coming. Van Kasken, Van Morton, Vega, Bergon, and Manfred also join them, while royalty like Leopold, Amelie, Lucas, and Gretchen are in an area just above them. Drew is escorted to the execution stand where people start jeering at him, claiming he is a traitor. Once Drew stands before them, the executioner pulls a lever to reveal a pool of silver that awaits the prisoner, which is deadly to any werelord. The executioner suggests that it would be better if Leopold would do the honors of executing Drew himself. When Leopold approaches the stand, the executioner draws his weapon and reveals himself as Mac in disguise. Suddenly, Amelie breaks free from the spell and recognizes Drew as her son. Amelie declares Drew the rightful king of Westland, the only heir of old Wergar. She then starts cheering, "Long live the wolf," to which allies join her in the chant. Leopold sneakily pulls the lever, forcing Mac to choose whether to help her son or stop Leopold. Leopold transforms and attacks Drew and Mac, but Bergen and Manfred join them to protect Drew. When Lucas tries to grab Gretchen's arm, Hector rescues her but ends up getting stabbed in the stomach. Hector survives, revealing that the book he kept in his coat blocked the knife. Van Kasken attacks Amelie, but Drew comes to her rescue. When he thought Van Kasken attacked Tilly, Van Morton takes Amelie hostage, revealing herself as the Wererat that attacked them that night. Mac comes to their rescue, but Van Morton is too strong for him and dies. Leopold struggles in a fight against Bergen and Manfred, so he runs back to the castle and barricades himself. He then orders a soldier to carry his ring and bring back reinforcements. In a fit of rage, Drew sneaks into the palace just before it entirely raises the drawbridge. Walking into the throne room, Leopold orders Van Morton to finish what he started and chases him outside. Vega interrupts him, and when he is about to finish him off, Vega throws expensive wine all over him. When he steps back to a torch, he catches on fire and falls back into the throne room. Lion troopers pursue them, and Vega leads them to the castle's highest point. Left with no choice, Vega and Drew jumped into the ocean to escape their pursuers. Later that night, Drew wakes up in the maelstrom and in the company of friends and allies. Bergen claims that Lycia needs him, and that they, the werelords, will guide and train him so he will be prepared to take the throne that is rightfully his. Drew politely refuses the offer, claiming that Hector has already been a mentor and is the only person he needs. That night, they saw fireworks in the sky, which Whitley claims were his people shouting for him, the return of their rightful king. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos, and subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.